Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
I'm fine.
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. Excited to be here.
Great. Yeah, Priyanka, you can start.
Shall we start?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing good and are safe. My name is Priyanka and I'm a UX researcher and trainer at UXExpert. I welcome you all to today's UX talk. UXExpert is one of the top 10 user experience service provider companies in India, and Mr. Tushar Deshmukh is the founder and CEO of the UX Experts. He is also the director of UXUITrainingLab, which provides professional training in human-computer interaction, usability, user research. I think,
Now you can.
yeah, okay, sorry. So, user research, prototyping tools, and front-end development in various languages. And Tushar is working towards many more courses related to UX to be launched soon. Through this platform, he is not only training people but also provides jobs as well as entrepreneurship opportunities to his students. He is a visiting professor at Symbiosis Institute of Design and has given speeches at various other conferences. He has been working in this field for more than 20 years now, and he works as a UX consultant for various other companies and is a UX advisor at Amplify Reach. He is also a founder of Organize My Hotly. Thank you, Tushar, for creating such an amazing platform on behalf of all the UXers.
Thanks.
And it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, Mr. Felix Lee. He is a product designer who believes that design should be purposeful, functional, and harmonious to its user original intention. His purpose is to constantly reinvent the way we experience the world and beyond. Currently, he helps clients worldwide grow by designing impactful products people love. He is a co-founder of Packdat and ADPList. He is also led design. He has also led design at Passpod. He works with Gotrade and has worked with Capture, Eatsy, Knowledgehook, sorry, and more such companies. As a creative thinker, he envisions building products that create the greatest lasting impact in the world. His curiosity and creative spirit led him to Silicon Valley and Indonesia to seek global learning and perspective. He has also been featured on Vulcan Post, Straits Time, Today, Tech in Asia, Teenage Magazine, and more. Today, he is going to talk to us about unleashing our creative freedom as we don't have forever. Welcome, Felix. Now, before Felix speaks, Tushar has something to say, so I'll hand it over to Tushar and I request you all to please keep your devices on mute and turn off your video. Thank you. Tushar?
Thanks, Priyanka. Again, I welcome Felix for this platform, and thanks for your time. And today we have a very wonderful subject, which your topic, which you are going to talk. Yes, I will. I will not take more time. Just I will just give you brief introduction about UX talk. It's all about is what all about, and then Felix will start his own the topic. So UX talk is basically a platform where we we bring all experts around the world, and we try to cover various subjects in a design and UX and where uh, the UXers which are in upcoming, they can take knowledge about this. And so this is a platform. I have definite vision for this. In future, we are going to start a lot of activities under UX talks like conferences, similar conferences we had last week for dedicated to women in design. Similarly, we are going to start workshops for designers, and upcoming workshop is there. So I will share details after the once we start the Q&A section for today. So I will not waste more time, and I hand over Felix. Okay. I welcome again you, and please you can continue. I already have given share screen access, so if you need, you can use that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tushar and Priyanka, for your amazing introduction. So yeah, thank you the rest of you for joining us today. Tushar, sorry, could you mute? Yeah, thank
Sure.
you. All right, so thank you all for joining me today here for this, I would say, the first time that I'm actually presenting this. And, just a little fun fact that I was still, this morning, I was still actually kind of looking through my slides. And, because this topic is something very close to my heart. And a lot of this actually comes from personal story. In fact, most of these things that I'll be presenting today actually comes from my personal story. And, all these are through experiences and really, really very important parts of my life that I'm sharing through this presentation. So just a quick show of hands, how many of you here is not from India, or whether you're from India or not, because I understand that this is started from India by Tushar. So, probably most of the people here are from India, but it'd be exciting to kind of see a little flex in the comments as to like where you guys are from as well. Yeah, so personally, I'm from Singapore. So awesome. Yeah, so I'm just going to start my presentation. So just let me know if you guys can see my screen. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of India. Okay, it's a lot of people. All right. Awesome, let's start. Okay, just want to make sure that we can see my screen clearly. All right, welcome everyone to my keynote today. I'll be talking about a lot of exciting stuff, so where you can take away to understand yourself as a human being, as a designer, and also understand yourself as a creative. How do you unleash your creativity inside of you, despite of the circumstances that you are put into in any part of the world right now, or in any stages of your life? So my name is Felix, and I'm currently a design lead at Gotrade, a mobile brokerage firm that allows you to invest in US stocks starting from $1. So that's Gotrade, and I'm also the co-founder at the amazing design people list, ADPList. So most designers here might have heard of ADPList. It is a global community-led platform that allows you to connects you to mentors and also job opportunities around the world. So I've previously worked for companies like Capture, Eatsy, Knowledgehook, and even Gotrade, right? So these are some of the really famous companies that I've worked for. So Capture is like a sustainability startup that allows you to track your carbon footprint. And we have Gotrade, which I'm currently leading the design right now. I started with them as a freelancer, and we graduated from Y Combinator. Yeah, so these are some of the companies I work for. Yeah, so I want to share a little bit about myself. Growing up, I've always believed, like what was introduced was that I've always believed, in creating a world where we can all feel very inspired to grow creatively together. And I've always said that my purpose is to wake up every single day, to ask ourselves, how can we reinvent the way that we experience the world around us and beyond us, right? Because that is fundamentally what we want to do as creators and as designers. So this is a photo of me from 2016. As you can see, I was really happy. I'm not sure if you can see from my face, but I was really focused at that point of time creating what I was creating. And if I could remember clearly, back in 2016, which is about 4 years back, probably 2016, yeah. So I was actually creating like a prototype of an e-wallet. So it wasn't really a digital design, it's more of like an industrial physical design kind of thing. And I really enjoyed what I was doing, right? But I didn't, like the enjoyment actually didn't come from like what was happening here in terms of like cutting papers or whatever, but the enjoyment and the fulfillment really comes from just being creative, the freedom to be creative. And that to me is the happiest place on earth, right? Some of you here might think that happiest place on earth might mean Disneyland or whatever. I mean, honestly, I love Disneyland, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Disney fan, right? But I believe that the freedom to be creative is one of the best things that we can actually have in life, right? Just being whatever that you want. And the reason why I use the word freedom and I chose the word freedom was because 2 years back, just 2 years back, I felt like my freedom for creativity was ripped off from my life. And that itself has, taught me tremendous lessons throughout my life. And this is something that I would love to share with you today. So this is what happened 2 years back. So this is a bunch of army boys, as you can see, a bunch of army enlistees in Singapore, right? And so I'm not sure if anyone here, because I can't really see your comments, but can anyone here guess where am I, or just try to point out, screenshot or whatever that is, you can send it to me on LinkedIn message or whatnot. So I am in here. I'm going to tell you where I am in a bit, right? But 2 years ago, after my studies, I actually had to enlist into the military service in Singapore, which everyone in Singapore, all the guys have to go in. But one thing that I was clear was that I was not like any other guys, right? I was not like any other Singaporeans, because I am someone who constantly challenged the status quo. Being in an Asian society, we are all a little conservative, a little bit more risk averse, but I wasn't like that, right? I was traveling alone at that point of time. I was doing things solo and whatnot. And to have, me mixed into the military service, it didn't felt quite right to me, right? And as some of you might know, military service is very regimental. So there was that's me, right? Probably some of you have guessed it already. That's me, putting my hand on my face, like really curious, looking like I was really interested. I gotta admit, what this officer here was talking was really interesting, right? And I was really just kind of like, hey, I was in the mood. I was just interestingly, talking about, listening to what he was saying. But really what I was feeling inside was that now I'm trapped in these 2 years, not being able to create, not being able to reinvent, right? And just not being able to be out there and just be myself. Because in the army, you are regimented, right? You are disciplined. You have to wake up at the time they tell you. You have to do what they tell you. You have to eat what they allow you to eat, right? So I felt like my freedom was ripped off. And I felt like my freedom for creativity and expression was ripped off from my life. And more than that, when I enlisted the army, back then I had a girlfriend, right? And I think a couple of months in, we sort of broke up. And that really hurt a lot back then, because it was so intense that everything was like, hey, right now you have no freedom for creativity, no freedom for expression, and now someone left you in your life, right? And that was something that I was struggling with back then. Which is why, before I move on to the next slide, I just want you guys to know that freedom comes at a price. Sometimes you got to fight for it, and freedom, to a certain extent, is luxury. So be grateful for that. So today I want to share with you a couple of things that I've learned, throughout my journey through the military service 2 years, and even before that, and what I was doing. So just a little context, before the army, I was actually a startup founder and also a designer, right? I started this company called Packdat, a travel company, which was eventually acquired. And I joined another company, which is called Passpod, and I took it to public, right? So we IPO'd in 2018. That was also when I went into the army service. So before that, I was already, creating a lot of things. And when I went into the army, one of the limiting beliefs that people tell me is that you can't do anything outside of the military service. So your weekends, you are probably sleeping, and from Monday to Friday, you are spending your time in the army. So there was a limiting beliefs that was set there before I enlisted to the service, right? And everyone said the same thing. And I kind of felt that, when I was in the army, because you're tired, you're like, you have no time to do anything. You just want to rest, and you don't want to read books. You just want to, be there, right? You can't really create much things. There was a limiting beliefs. But, one of the things that I've always pride myself on is to look things in from a very different perspective, to say that impossible is equal to I'm possible, right? And when I went to the army, just a little fun fact was that all the logos that you saw just now, from Capture to Knowledgehook, from Eatsy and to Gotrade, obviously I've worked with more clients, but those big clients were actually the clients that I actually worked with during my army days, right? I took every single weekend to work with these people. I took every single weekend that I had, every single moment that I have, to work on passion projects for creating. And why? Because I was so hungry to be creative. I was so hungry to be able to, just want to express what I felt was right through creativity and design, right? So the number one thing is to ask yourself, is to really understand what was some limiting beliefs, and to really look things at a different perspective. And the second part is, I'm pretty sure a lot of us have seen this graph somewhere in our lives before, is that we're all part of this comfort zone. And before army, my comfort zone was just, I'm able to create, right? I'm able to create anytime and anywhere I want. But when I went to the army, it was way outside of my comfort zone. And even though I really didn't enjoy my time in there because I felt so trapped, but I gotta tell you that 2 years was where the magic really happened. Why? Because I was able to find really pockets of time to create. I was able to struggle and to find room for improvements to grow as a person, as a designer, as an entrepreneur, right? And that was really, really important for me because I learned time management. I learned about, managing like expectations. I learned about, working with people as well, even though I was in the military service, right? And this is where you actually know something, that when you're hungry enough to want to do something, no matter what, you would find a way to go and do it, right? And that often, whatever that you want to do, right, that often lies outside of your comfort zone. And if you want to do something truly great and something truly special for yourself, right, get out of your comfort zone, walk outside and see the world. Because that, this circle might seem like it's the entire universe, but that other hole right there, that is where you need to be. And the third thing that I've learned, is to tell yourself that it's okay to walk alone. You see, when I was in the military service, I stood up like a sore thumb, right? It's like everyone was saying like, hey, why don't you just obey the rules, do what you are being told, don't question so much, don't challenge people, just do what they're telling you to do. But growing up, I've never been that guy who accepts the rules and the status quo as it is. I've learned to challenge it, not for the sake of challenging it, but for the sake of asking, can we do better, right? Or can we do some things differently? Is there a better way to do it, right? And sometimes people might not agree with you, right? And in the case of the 2 years, some of the friends, they understood me, while majority of the people didn't really understood. So a lot of them actually shied away from me, right? A lot of them actually, didn't want to hang out or whatever. I mean, I didn't ask to hang out, but a lot of them actually just shied away. And most of the time in the camp, I was actually alone. But I'll tell you what, I'm actually the happiest when I'm alone, because it got me enlightened about a lot of things. It got me understood about the things around us. When one of the things that I really, 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 appreciate in life is silence and just being alone sometimes, which is why I meditate every single morning, right? I wake up every day and the first thing that I would do is to turn on my meditation app and to start meditating for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And the reason why I like doing that is because it gives you a lot of clarity. And when I say it's okay to walk alone, it's not just because it's okay. I mean, it's really okay. But it's okay because it gives you a lot of clarity for yourself. And one of the things that I like is that when you're alone, what do you get? Silence, right? And when you get silence, you get clarity. So that is what you want, right? As designers, as people who are creating things, as people who want to be creative, you want to have that freedom to create. You got to tell yourself that sometimes it's really okay to walk alone. People are not going to believe in you. People are not going to really understand what you do, right? But as long as you believe in yourself, I think that is the most important mantra that you can even take away from today. And this, by the way, is something talked very often, but I believe that it's still really worth to just bring it up as well, from personal point of view and of lesson. The fourth one is that if you don't like something, change it. Like, change it, but fill it with optimism, fill it with passion, and fill it with gratitude, right? Why do I say this, right? There's a lot of things during my military days that I didn't really like it. And I would constantly go out there and I would propose things and I'll say, this can be done better. This might be how we can do it, right? I have, looked at this and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And, when people hear that, of course, in the army, it seems like you're challenging the ranks. But for me, I don't care, right? Because as long as things are getting better and things are improving, that is what I'm aiming for. That is where I'm going, right? And remember this, right? A just cause, like my just cause is to reinvent the way we experience the world, didn't stop when I went into the army. It followed me through to today, even before, during, and after the army. And that's something you got to find for yourself as well. What is something that you are so willing to fight for? What is that passion? What is that vision? What is your cause that you're constantly willing to fight for? And if you're not willing to accept something, change it. Don't just, complain or whine about it, right? Because if you really don't like something, change it. You got the power to do it. I think one of the very famous quotes from Steve Jobs that I still remember is that to look around you and to understand that nothing around you was created by people smarter than you, right? And if a chair can be created by someone, you can probably create the next chair, right? So when you don't like something, change it, but do it with optimism. Optimism does not mean positivity, right? Optimism means that you would know that there are ups and downs in the journey, but you choose to be optimistic about it. You choose to be positive about it, right? And then you have passion, right? Feel it with passion and feel it with a lot of gratitude. Be thankful that happens, right? So whenever something happens, don't say, oh, right, like don't say anything, right? Just say, thank you. I'm glad it happened, right? Because life, it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And lastly, kind of shares a little relationship with number 4.5 is dare to challenge, right? There's a lot of things around us today where has pressing issues, right? And we see a lot of things in our lives that needs to change, right? And it requires someone who dares to challenge the status quo. It requires someone to question, why is it there in the first place? And it requires someone who really dares to walk up and say, I want to change things, right? So be that person, right? Gather your courage, right? And be able to, have that courage to walk up to the challenge and say, I'm going to change things, right? So be that guy and dare to start to challenge, right? So be that person. And so this is a very powerful lesson because, I just kind of want to bring this up as well. Like, today in our world, we face a lot of existential threat, especially from climate change, right? And climate change is something that lacked a lot of political will before or even right now as well. And this is something that I think requires a lot of people like ourselves who are creatives, who are creators, inventors, designers, whatever you like to call yourself, to be able to say that you dare to challenge something, right? And I think this decade for us, the next decade and even beyond would be very important for people like me and you to walk up and challenge that, right? And this is something that I hope to give it to you today, to say that there are pressing issues around the world that I hope that people who come to this talk today would go out there and challenge these things, right? Yeah, and sustainability is something that I personally care about. So that is definitely a space that I would want to challenge in the next 10 years and beyond. So before we kind of like go into the Q&A or whatnot, I want to give all of you a little activity here. Feel free to take this screenshot, whatever you want. So the next 3 slides are of course open to screenshots. Feel free to do it. Tag me on LinkedIn, whatever. Share with us. Share it publicly if you want as well. So the first one is limiting beliefs, right? I want you to take out your non-existent journal, notebook, whatever, a paper right now if you have, right? If you have on your table, take it out, write it. Your limiting beliefs. What are some of the walls, right? Walls that you have unconsciously built for yourself, or some people might have told you that. What are some of the limiting beliefs that you have in life right now, right? As a creative person, or even just as an individual, right? Doesn't need to be creative, right? What are some of the walls that you have unconsciously built for yourself today, right? Write them down, because this would help you be aware of what are those beliefs that you need to overcome. Got it? Take a screenshot, whatever you want. Like I say, tag me. Second, dare to challenge. What are some of the status quo, or what are some of the things that you wrote before, or even like something that you just want to challenge in society? What are some of the status quo that you wish that someone could reinvent, and just don't wish for it? Why can't that person be you, right? So what are some of the status quo you want to reinvent today? So take your similarly in your pen and paper, write it down. What are some of the status quo that you really, really want to reinvent as a person? And lastly, your true voice. Asking yourself, why are you doing this, right? Like, why are you here tonight, or this morning, or this evening, afternoon for you? Why are you here? And why are you doing this, right? Or why are you even creating something or designing? What is that true passion? And why is that your true passion? Understand that deeply. Write it down. What is your true voice? And it's going to help you navigate through what you just wrote before, the limiting beliefs and the dare to challenge, right? This thing is going to help you with point 1 and point 2. So take it down and write it seriously, right? Give it some thoughts today, this morning or next morning, right? When you're really quiet, like I said, take some silent time, right? Write it down and really reflect upon it, right? As like I say, one of the best case study for me personally in my personal life was that my purpose has always been to wake up every single day to ask ourselves if we can just reinvent the way we experience the world around us and beyond, right? And that purpose has driven me to date, right? Even during the military service of the toughest time, I was still finding ways to create. And for you, you got to find something like that. You got to find your passion, right? You got to find your voice. So write it down. All right, got it? Okay, so I'm just going to move on. So before I end my talk today, I just kind of want to, wish everyone to say, besides, I understand that we're all living in a very crazy time, but I kind of just want to say that, there is a lot of things happening right now. And I personally am, I'm deeply convinced that we need more creations and, we need more kindness around the world than ever before, which was why the amazing design people list, ADPList.org, was born during COVID-19 with me and James, right? And those are some things that, it's a very good example of what has happened, right? And, the reason why I believe that we should all continue to fight for the freedom for creativity is because we don't have forever, right? A lot of things, they come and go, right? Climate, whatever you name it, right? They come and go. So, whenever you have a chance to be creative, right, be thankful for it, because like I say, freedom is a luxury, and it's not a given, right? Some people, they have to go through a lot to fight for those freedom, for you to be creative, and you have to also fight for your freedom to be creative. So whenever you have a chance to be creative, jump on it, create something that people will love, create something that people will need. Whether or not it impacts the world, it's a different story, but as long as it changes one life, I think that's enough. So yeah, I will be giving this talk at XFN conference, which is a conference based in San Francisco, but it's virtual. So I invite all of you to join me on 23rd October. I'll be giving the same talk, but of course a little more in depth in this conference, because it's a paid conference. So I'll be giving a lot more things there, extending this topic a lot more as well. So I'd love to invite all of you there to join me. And like I say, go out there, invent something amazing for the rest of the world, or even just for the person beside you, or even the people in a Zoom call today and tonight, right? Like I say, because we need more inventions than ever before that can really, really push us as a humanity forward. So yeah, see you there at the conference. I hope to see you there. And thank you so much for being a part of this talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Felix. That was really wonderful. And really, I think our participants have opened up a lot of things in their mind. And let's now, we open floor for, if people have questions, so they can put in our chat box so that Priyanka and we can help out to ask those questions to the Felix. Before I have first question for the Felix, so that I will ask first. Okay. Now, yeah. So before we start on question answer, I just have quick announcement, right, for the workshops. I think Felix, I also request for your workshop, if you have something for link or something, please share in the chat box so that people will record that for your workshop, which you just, or people can take a note on that. Second thing, that we have a workshop planned on 26 October. So those are details are also I am sharing here on the chat box. Please go through that. And this is very special announcement that we would like to do, that uh, as UXTalk is now growing, the community is now, as a UXTalk is growing. So for this workshop, we are specifically giving some discount for that. So details are in chat box. So you can use that promo code and you can take avail for this. This particular workshop is by none other than Dr. Susan Winshek. She is a behavioral psychologist, and lot of books you might have read which is written by Susan. So you can take opportunity directly interact with Susan, and please join there for this on 26 October. Uh, yes. Now I have very first
Yeah,
question for the
yeah,
Felix. Yeah. Yeah.
your question, right? Yeah, I was kind of
Yeah.
waiting for that question.
Yeah. No. Sorry. Okay. Just you can tell me, because as you have founded the ADP list, that okay. So I have one simple question that how it works basically, and how designers will get benefit out of it. So that, because see, as a UX or as a design, I always want people should talk same language globally, and I'm happy that you have raised that the platform where designers and mentors can come together. So just give us our audience, how it works basically, so that people will take
Sure.
advantage about this, and then people can start,
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
on that.
Awesome. Let me just, put in the link there. Everyone can access after this call. So adplist.org. Yeah. So for those of you who haven't heard of ADPList, it is short form for the Amazing Design People List. So we are a global community-led platform that connects you with mentorships and jobs opportunities in the design world. So it's not just, in Singapore, in India, or in US, but basically everywhere around the world. So to date, we have about 600 mentors who are all on a mission to create a world that inspires you to want to grow creatively together, right? So all of these mentors are like sort of our partners. So you can go up to the platform, find a mentor, click their schedule, and sort of like, book their calendar, and make sure that, you have something in mind. Don't miss that date, right? Attend that call with them, ask them for advice, portfolio review, career advice, or, leadership advice or whatnot, and they'll be very willing to help you as well. So we recently just launched, I think Tushar talked a little bit about language. So I kind of want to dive a little bit about literally language. So we recently just launched 2 new filters. So the first one is expertise. So you can filter the mentors by your expertise. For example, you're looking for someone in the research space, right? User research space, or, and you want to go more specific, right? Like language, right? You want to find a user researcher that speaks Hindi or speaks like Portuguese, Spanish, or whatever. You now can be able to filter the mentors by languages. So yeah, we are one of the largest, in fact, we are the largest global platform to connect you with mentorships in the design space. So yeah, do connect with the mentors there. I am a mentor. I used to be, but busy days. So I got to sort of like pause my account, but there are a lot of amazing mentors out there for you to engage as well. Yeah. So that's basically what we're about. Yeah.
Thanks. I think we have a couple of questions. Priyanka, you can help out.
Yeah. So we have a question from Priscilla, and she says, "Hello, Felix. Thank you so much for your talk. You mentioned challenging the status quo, and I am still a very much student in the. She's still learning UX, and when I come up with my ideas of what I think might work better, I get shot down. And she wants to know, how do I handle this?"
All right, awesome. Priscilla, thank you for your question. Where are you from? Okay, you probably will reply in the chat, but I'll just jump right into your question. So, when you're starting out, of course, people would tend to think that, whatever that you say is like not credible. I think that's the way human works. Don't blame them, right? And I think what you got to do 2 things. First, you got to work harder, right? In terms of like what you're already doing, build more things, right? Create more things, gain more experiences. Now, the second thing, it's more directly related to this question, is that if you truly believe that something would work, you don't have to, you don't really need their permission. Come on, right? Like if they're your teacher, if they're your boss or whatever that is, like, if you think it would work, what I would say is that tell them, hey, give me 2 weeks or whatever. I'll make it work for you, right? I'll make it work within this timeline or whatever, and tell them why this would work, right? And even before, by the way, even before proposing that, or just not asking for permission, I'm a guy who doesn't like to ask permission. So if I think it will work, I will just do it, right? I will just do it, and then when the results come back, then I'll show them and say, here you go. This is the result. This is what I proposed, and I showed you it worked, right? It's not to prove them wrong, right? It's not to prove them wrong when you do that. It is to just go fast, right? Because one of the best things that you can do as a designer is to want to go fast, learn things really, really fast as well. So the reason why I don't ask for permissions is because I don't like to waste time, right? I don't like to waste time. I don't like to ask for permission. I'm just going to go do something, right? It doesn't work out, fine. I'm going to try again, and try again until it works out, right? So share that philosophy, like have that philosophy to say that you just want to do things and go out there. And yeah, back to the point that before you propose something, you got to make sure that you got every single, like statistics, like data that, can convince someone. So you got to say, right, if you want to build this product, you got to say, okay, this market is behaving like that. I'm seeing this, like you need some numbers, like really concrete numbers, right? Quote your source, whatever that is, do some testings and say, okay, these are all the data. And this is why this will work, right? The data is the reason why it shows that this is worth the shot. So you are not actually asking them to say, hey, let's implement this right away, but you are giving them the confidence to say, okay, I think we can give this a shot, right? So that's what you're gaming after. You're gaming after their confidence. You want to get their confidence to say we can give this a shot, regardless of the outcome, right? Regardless of the outcome, you got to give them that confidence. So yeah.
Great. Yeah.
We have another question from Dhanashri, and she wants to know what is the most important thing that you should add in your UX portfolio?
Yeah, I think a great question. I'm not sure if I should kind of answer it here, but there are a lot of resources out there in Medium. Go and read it, right? Number one, go and read it. Google is your best friend, literally. Yeah, Medium, there's a lot of articles out there. But if you to ask me, there's a lot of things that I think is very important in the portfolios. It's not a portfolio call for sure, but I'll tell you that the number one thing is to understand your trade-offs, right? Is to be able to say why you chose design A over design B, C, and D, right? Why is it this and not the rest? That's number one, right? I got to understand what you're thinking. I got to understand why you make the decision, because I'm hiring you not just for you to design, right? Because everyone can do design. Because if I'm hiring you, I expect you to make good and smart decisions, like really, really good decision. You got to just drive for excellence, right? Like one thing that really, like sort of like differentiates is that, I love working people. I love working with people who expects excellence out of themselves, right? And that includes your decision making, right? So that's one. The second one is to, don't tell me how many people you have interviewed or researched with, tell me what have you learned through that research. I want to know, right? What is the impact and why did you even conduct that research in the first place, right? Like, don't tell me that you talk to 10 people, 20 people. That doesn't add value to me when I'm looking at your portfolio, right? I want to know why you do that research in the first place. Is it needed? Secondly, I want to know what have you gotten and what have you extracted out of that research. Yeah, so these two things sum up of what I believe would be a really, really important part for everyone's portfolio.
Yeah, true. We have a question from Jay Raj, and he wants to know if you have ever worked with Indian client, and if you have, then what was your take on the culture, design culture and awareness in Indian companies?
Well, I never worked with, let me think. Yeah, probably he's an Indian, but he's not based in India. So I wouldn't try to consider that. So I have a lot of good friends from India. I was just on a phone call with Manav, who works at housing.com in India. He's one of the design manager there. I also know Saptashi. I'm pretty sure a lot of Indian designers know Saptashi. He works at Swiggy as a design lead. So really, really good friends that, of course, I've met Saptashi in person for a few times before COVID happened as well. So I love the way that the Indian culture actually sort of does their design. They are very hardworking people. I love that. They are also very, they have very keen attention to detail. So for people who are in this call, from overseas, never worked with any Indian designers, you want to work with them. You want to try working with them. Like I say, everyone has different preferences. But Indian designers, they bring a very different set of perspective to the table, right? As with all different races and religions and languages that you speak on or whatnot. Yeah. So these people, they bring in a very different perspective, and I enjoyed my conversations with the Indians, and I found that the Indians in the design community are also very enthusiastic, right? Like they ask questions, you know, they jump on the calls, they're not afraid to ask things. So I really like that. This is what I believe, you know, is really, really nice about the Indian design community. As with design clients, you know, I never really worked with, but so I can't really speak. But you know, as given a chance, I would, you know, I think it would be nice to, you know, sort of like see how that works as well. Like not being there, I would not think that I would be there, but I think just to advise or whatnot, that would be an amazing opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. We have a question from Neha, and she is a beginner in the UX field, and she wants to know how to be good at whiteboard challenges.
Okay, awesome, guys. Okay, so yeah, can we ask a little bit more question regarding the talk today? But I kind of get that, you know, like portfolios and whiteboard challenges are very important. So these are part of the interviews. I'll tell you that you know, whiteboard challenges are something that, you know, we don't really look at the outcome of your challenges, right? In a sense that, you know, like I'm not looking at like what you have done at the end of the challenge, but I'm looking at every phase of like, what is your thinking, right? Why are you doing each step, right? It's important. Like, you know, if you were to tell me that, hey, I think in this challenge, we got to start conducting a user interview. And I'm like, why do we do an user interview, right? And if you tell me, oh, because it's part of the process, right? We just got to do user interview. It just kind of gives us more insights. Then my question to you is that why can't we find those insights on Google, right? So now then the person will probably be stuck and like, oh yeah, there's a faster way, right? So think before you do in design challenges, right? Because it's not the outcome, like I say, it's not the design that you come up with, because it's impossible to come up with a practical solution in 20 minutes. It's possible, but just not carefully thought of, right? But what can be done in the 20 minutes is to show how you think about your processes. And that is very important. Yeah.
I think let's take now a couple of last questions. I think.
Sure.
Yeah. I think there are a couple of questions are similar tone, I think.
Yeah, one is from Yikman, yeah.
Yeah, Yikman.
So
Yikman wants to know if you are a freshly graduate, and how do you pursue your career in the UX domain?
Your advice for fresh graduates, what do you? Okay. Depends on what you're graduating from. I mean, truth to be told, I don't have a college degree. I have a diploma, and my diploma was in engineering. So I have never been formally educated as a designer, just for everyone's information. So just some context, right? So, you know, be it whether like, you know, what you want to pursue, like I say, can you tell me a little, maybe this Ikman, can we just maybe unmute Ikman for a while to just kind of want to, you know, share a little bit of conversation here with the rest of the people. But maybe Ikman, you want to share with us like why you want to pursue UX domain? If you can just unmute yourself, you're here. Okay,
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey.
Yeah, everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear.
Yeah, for me, actually, I graduated recently with a Bachelor of Software Engineering, and throughout my bachelor study, right, so I discovered my passion is more towards the UX. I think it is more towards UX designer. So just to actually get some comment from you. So what is your
so what at which phase of your, I don't know, like at which phase of your college or whatnot did you decide did you decide that it was UX design? Like how did you know it was UX design, and why was it UX design?
Yeah, so
any examples?
Yeah, for myself, I think I like about UX because ultimately I like to interact with different people, and especially particularly in user research, I also find it interesting because probably I like to also observe people, especially in usability testing, to know about human behavior and what is the human psychology behind all these different actions that people are taking. So
Okay,
I think
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ikman. Yeah, feel free to mute yourself right now for that. Yeah. So that's the answer from Ikman, and thank you, Ikman, for turning on your mic and sharing with us. So you shared with us a couple of things. You shared with me a couple of things, and I think those were very refreshing. Kind of listen to like what people from different points would like to hear from. But of course, there's a lot of reasons why we do what we do, and I think for me, for me personally, I just stumbled across design. Believe it or not, right? I didn't say that I like UX, I like UI. I want to come into UI UX, but UI and UX is merely and still is just a means to my ends, right? And my end, if you remember, it is my purpose is to reinvent the way that we experience the world around us and beyond us. And that is not limited to design, right? I foresee someday that I'll be using engineering for sure, right? So design for me is just a means to an end. It's never a sort of like, oh, I want to be a designer. That's my goal. That's not a goal for me. That's not a purpose, right? So for you, if you want to really pursue the UX domain, first thing, like I said, find a just cause. Secondly, start reading up on things regarding UX, start practicing, right? Start learning what tools are out there, start learning what are some of the practices and whatnot. By the way, the tools are the important, are like the sort of like the fake important things because they are really easy to learn. But what is hard to learn is to differentiate between the reality and the real UX, because the sort of like the like the internet UX versus like the reality of UX is vastly very, very different, right? When you think about UX, you often think very awesome stuff and whatnot, but the process itself is something that I think differentiates every single designer, right? Every single product can actually be felt through the process. Whenever I use the product, I could totally feel what the designers are doing behind, because it is a very natural reflection. If someone doesn't pay attention to certain details, I would look at it and be like, okay, they probably don't care about what they're doing, right? So there's a lot of things, but like I say, if you want, start practicing on your processes, right? User research or whatever, like start practicing on that process and be familiar with it.
Great.
I hope that answers your questions, man. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I think we'll take one last question.
Sure, let's go for one last one. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. So Neil he has a color blindness, and he wants to know how much is it going to affect his UX career in the future.
Okay, I'm going to say something really interesting here, so you guys take note. I think this is not going to be a problem. I feel and I believe that it's going to be an opportunity for you, Sunil. And I'll tell you why. Because the world is in need of accessibility designers. The world is in need of more accessible design, right? And by being colorblind, you are essentially a very important stakeholder in this design, right? You get to give your input, and you even get to, feel what it's like to be a colorblind person. You design for those people. You push for accessible design. To me, I don't see it as a problem. I see it as an opportunity for you to thrive in that space, right? And like I say in my talk, is to look at things from a different perspective, right? Is to say that it's possible, right? So I want you to change your perspective and to say that this is an opportunity for you to thrive, because you are a colorblinded person, right? And you can now create accessible design for these people who are like you. So yeah, that is my point.
I think that is, correct point you have mentioned, Felix, because that is the challenge we should convert into opportunities. And rightly you said in your one of the slide that is it is and possible. So that is something I think Sunil that is he must have get some motivation from that. Great. Thanks, Felix, for your time for this today. I know there is quite late now, so let's wrap up today's talk. And hopefully, in future, we will connect in some different platforms. And mostly, the UX talk we have India as the platform. Which we can connect in future some activities. I just ask Priyanka just conclude today's session, and we can take you can continue on. Thanks much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Felix, for this amazing talk. It was really amazing and very insightful. And thank you everyone for attending this session. I hope you all liked it and was able to learn something out of it. Also, I would like to announce our next talk, which is going to be on the 16th of October. Anika Kronberger, who is a research assistant at the Institute of Design and Communication, University of Applied Sciences in Austria, is going to be speaking about interaction design in practice. And I hope I'll see you all over there as well. And I'm sure you will, like you've learned today, you will learn from that session as well. So and if you want the details, all of the details are available on all our social media handles and LinkedIn and our this website as well. Also, like Tushar announced earlier, that we have an amazing workshop coming up with Dr. Suzanne Winchik. I did put up the details in the link. I'll put that up again. So go through it and please, I hope I'll see you all over there. Thank you.
Thanks, Felix, once again. Bye.
Yes.